Hello, and welcome to the 25th episode of LGBTQIA+, Heroes, Icons, Legends, and Events. This series of programs covers a wide variety of topics, such as entertainer Freddie Mercury, mathematician and cryptanalyst Alan Turing, and the mother of the blues, Gertrude Ma Rainey. In honor of Women's History Month, today we're going to celebrate two of the most famous legends in entertainment history. Today's episode discusses the lives and career highlights of two beloved and influential gay icons and advocates, Judy Garland and her daughter Liza Minnelli. Judy Garland was born Frances Ethel Gumm on June 10, 1922 in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Her parents, Frank and Ethel Gumm, were former vaudeville performers. They operated the New Grand Theater in Grand Rapids, a movie theater which featured vaudeville acts. The youngest of three girls, Frances was called Baby by her family. She made her performing debut at the age of 2.5 years old. The family relocated to Lancaster, California after Frank was accused of propositioning young men at the theater. Frances and her sisters took dancing lessons and made their film debut in 1929 in a short film called The Big Review. They began performing in vaudeville and were billed as the Gumm Sisters. They had been on the tour circuit for several years when they were booked to perform in Chicago with the multi-talented actor and comedian George Jessel. Having been erroneously billed previously as the Glum Sisters, the sisters were heckled by the audience when they were introduced. George Jessel suggested the name the Garland Sisters because he thought they, quote, looked prettier than a garland of flowers. Frances stood out as the star of the Garland Sisters with her big voice and natural stage presence. She changed her name to Judy Garland in 1934, taking the name Judy from one of her favorite Hoagy Carmichael songs. In September 1935, Judy was signed by the largest film studio in Hollywood, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, also known as MGM, without ever having a screen test. Her first film appearance was in the short film Every Sunday in 1936. The first of her trademark songs, You Made Me Love You, was originally written in 1913. In 1937, Judy's vocal trainer, lyricist Roger Edens, wrote additional lyrics to the song for Judy, who was cast in the role of a teenage fan of actor Clark Gable. She sang the song, now called Dear Mr. Gable, for Clark Gable at his MGM birthday party. He gave her a charm bracelet as a thank you gift. The MGM executives were so charmed by her rendition that she and the song were added to the film Broadway Melody of 1938. She recorded the Gable version on September 24, 1937, and the record was released in 1939. Juvenile performers were very popular at the time, and their films were very profitable. Judy was paired in 10 MGM films alongside her friend Mickey Rooney. Mickey also came from a show business family. His mother had changed his name and moved him to California to launch his film career. Judy met Mickey in 1935 when she was just starting out and he was a rising star. Their first film together was 1937's Thoroughbreds Don't Cry. Judy gave Mickey credit for his advice to perform her lines, quote, like you're singing it. The 1938 film, Love Finds Andy Hardy, the fourth film about the Hardy family, was the first of 3 Hardy family films to feature Judy. Babes in Arms in 1939 was their third film together, and they shared top billing. It was one of the biggest hits of the year and the biggest moneymaker of the year for MGM. Their final film together was 1948's Words and Music, but Judy and Mickey remained close friends. Judy and her friend Deanna Durbin were cast in the 1936 MGM film Every Sunday to showcase their singing talents. Deanna left MGM for Universal Studios when her contract option at MGM expired. She was a favorite to play the lead in an upcoming MGM film, along with child actor and singer Shirley Temple. Judy was not Louis B. Mayer's first choice, but her performance in The Wizard of Oz made her a star. Initially, the film was not a success, but The Wizard of Oz has been watched by more people than any other film in history. In the film, Judy plays Dorothy Gale, a young girl who longs to see the world outside of her home in Kansas. She befriends an odd group of characters, including the Tin Woodsman, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. Her signature song, Over the Rainbow, helped make the film a beloved classic. Judy won her first and only Academy Award for The Wizard of Oz, a specially made miniature statuette for outstanding performance by a juvenile. Judy struggled with body image issues because she was told by the studio heads that she wasn't thin or pretty enough to be a movie star. Louis B. Mayer called her "my little hunchback" and "the fat kid" because of her short stature and curvy shape. The studio forced her to wear a corset to minimize her curves, and she also wore caps on her teeth and discs in her nostrils to give her nose a more girlish, upturned appearance. Her well-publicized issues with prescription drugs began when she was a teenager. Her mother and the studio heads put her on a regimen of amphetamines to control her weight and then barbiturates to help her sleep. She was forced to smoke cigarettes to keep her appetite in check. Judy wasn't allowed to eat full meals, only coffee, chicken broth, and cottage cheese. The 1940 film Little Nellie Kelly marked her first screen kiss and her only on-screen death scene. In the film, she sings the song "Singin' in the Rain" 10 years before Gene Kelly sang it in the movie of the same name. The film was a starring vehicle for Judy. Judy married 5 times during her life. She was 19 years old when she married band leader David Rose in 1941. Her mother and the studio executives forbade her to marry him, partly because he was 12 years older than Judy, and also because they didn't want her to ruin her girl-next-door reputation. The marriage was short-lived. Judy was anxious to be a mother, but when she got pregnant, her mother and her husband insisted that she get an abortion. She officially divorced David Rose in 1945. The 1944 film Meet Me in St. Louis was one of the first films that gave Judy the opportunity to be the beautiful leading lady. She debuted the now classic songs, The Trolley Song, The Boy Next Door, and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. The film was the second highest grossing film of the year and MGM's most successful musical of the 1940s. Judy met director Vincent Minnelli on the set of Meet Me in St. Louis. They clashed at first, but soon became lovers and moved in together. The studio executives hoped that her new relationship would prevent her from leaving MGM at the end of her contract. Nearly 20 years older than Judy, Vincent helped bring out a sense of maturity and on-screen elegance in her. Judy was tired of playing teenage sweethearts, so she was grateful for his influence. She no longer had to wear a corset, caps on her teeth, and discs in her nostrils. She was finally allowed to be herself. When the couple married in June of 1945, Louis B. Mayer himself gave the bride away. Judy and Vincent welcomed their daughter Liza Minnelli on March 12, 1946. They named her after the Ira Gershwin song, "Liza, All the Clouds Roll Away." Liza's first film performance was in the 1949 film In the Good Old Summertime at age 3. Judy and Vincent's marriage began to suffer. Their work relationship had deteriorated. Vincent was known to have homosexual affairs. Judy's drug use escalated and she made a few attempts at suicide. She was either late for work or didn't show up at all. Due to his inability to be faithful and her fragile mental and physical health, the couple separated in 1949 and divorced in 1951. Judy's final film with MGM was 1950's Summer Stock. She struggled with her dependency on prescription drugs and was often late or absent when it came time to film her musical numbers. Luckily, she was paired with her good friend Gene Kelly, an actor, singer, and dancer most famous for his performances on Broadway. Judy and Gene had worked together previously in 1942's For Me and My Gal, Gene's first film, and The Pirate in 1948. Judy had helped Gene adjust his acting style to film, and they became close friends. Gene was happy to support Judy, saying, quote, "We loved her and we understood what she was going through, and I had every reason to be grateful for all the help she had given me." Judy's musical number, Get Happy, is one of her most iconic performances. After making more than 24 films for MGM, Judy was released from her contract in 1950 because of her struggles with drugs and alcohol. At age 28, she was out of work and unemployable. She married impresario Sid Luft in 1952. He orchestrated her comeback. He got her a 4-week concert booking at New York's RKO Palace Theater, which turned into a triumphant and record-breaking 19-week run. It was also profitable, grossing almost $800,000. Judy had performed concerts off and on since 1943, but this was the beginning of her new career path. Sid was her protector, and he actually cared for her. They had 2 children, Lorna, born in 1952, and Joey, born in 1955. Their marriage lasted 13 years, by far Judy's longest romantic relationship, and they were together off and on for over 20 years. Judy's most critically acclaimed roles came later in her career with Sid's direction. She received a nomination for the Academy Award for the Best Actress in a Leading Role for her performance in A Star is Born in 1954, and she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical for her performance. It was her first film in 4 years. The story of Esther Blodgett, a naive actress who transitions into movie star Vicki Lester, mirrors Judy's own career journey. Her rendition of The Man That Got Away made it another of her signature songs. Judy received a nomination for the Academy Award for the Best Actress in a Supporting Role for her dramatic performance in Judgment at Nuremberg in 1961. Also in 1961, at age 39, Judy was the youngest and first female recipient of the Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement in the Film Industry. Judy released 8 studio albums and hosted her own Emmy-nominated TV series, The Judy Garland Show. She performed record-breaking concerts. Her 1961 appearance at Carnegie Hall has been called, quote, the greatest night in show business history. The resulting 2-record album, Judy at Carnegie Hall, was a certified gold record and stayed 13 weeks at #1 on the Billboard charts. In 1962, the album won a total of 4 Grammy Awards, including Best Female Vocal of the Year and Best Album of the Year. Judy was the first woman to win the Grammy Award for Best Album of the Year. In 1961, Liza started as an apprentice at the Cape Cod Melody Tent in Hyannis, Massachusetts. She began performing professionally at age 17. Like her mother, Liza had a big voice and a natural stage presence. She desired to be a dancer more than a singer. In 1963, she starred in an off-Broadway revival of the musical Best Foot Forward. She received the Theatre World Award for her performance. Liza won her first Tony Award at age 19 for her performance as leading actress in the Broadway show Flora the Red Menace. She became the youngest actress to win a Tony Award. Also at age 19, Liza made her debut as a nightclub singer. She made her professional debut at the Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. She appeared in other clubs and on stage all over the United States. Her success as a live performer led to a recording contract with Columbia Records. Judy was so busy working that she wasn't much help with Liza's career. But in November 1964, Judy and Liza starred in 2 sold-out shows at the London Palladium. The concerts were recorded and released as an album. The concerts brought Liza much-needed recognition. During production, Judy met and had a whirlwind romance with tour manager Mark Herron. She wasn't officially divorced from Sid Luft at the time, but when their divorce was final, she married Mark Herron. Their marriage lasted barely 5 months. Judy claimed that he had been physically abusive to her, to which he replied, quote, only in self-defense. Mark Herron was also unfaithful to Judy during their marriage and had several affairs with other men. Liza married Australian musical performer and songwriter Peter Allen in March 1967. She got a big surprise on their wedding night when she found him in bed with Judy's husband, Mark Herron. Judy divorced Mark Herron shortly afterwards, while Liza and Peter stayed together for 8 years. Liza later said of her husband, quote, I married Peter and he didn't tell me he was gay. Everyone knew but me. And I found out, well, let me put it this way. I'll never surprise anybody coming home as long as I live. I call first. In the late 1960s, Judy was deep in debt and struggling with the pressure to perform. She was also addicted to prescription drugs. She met Mickey Deans when he came to her New York hotel room to deliver drugs, and they dated off and on until they married in London in March 1969. Judy's daughter Lorna Luft has said since that Mickey Deans was, quote, the most unsuitable person to take care of Judy because he gave in to her and fed her all the things she wanted. Judy Garland died of an accidental overdose at her London home on June 22, 1969, just 12 days after her 47th birthday. Her body was returned to New York City on June 26th, where an estimated 20,000 people lined up at the Manhattan Funeral Home to pay their respects. The funeral home stayed open all night to accommodate the crowds. Her A Star is Born co-star James Mason gave her eulogy, saying, quote, Judy's great gift was that she could wring tears out of hearts of rock. She gave so richly and so generously that there is no currency in which to repay her. Judy was buried at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York, about 24 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. Although she earned millions during her career, Judy's estate was valued at $40,000 upon her death. Mismanagement of her money and her generosity with her family resulted in her sad financial situation. Her daughter Liza worked for years to pay off all of Judy's debts with help from their family friend Frank Sinatra. Sid Luft and their children Lorna and Joey auctioned many of Judy's personal items and raised $250,000 for her heirs. At her children's request, Judy's body was moved in 2017 to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles. After Judy's death, Liza became addicted to alcohol, Valium, and other drugs. She made frequent appearances at New York nightclubs, including Studio 54, and she also became addicted to recreational drugs. She continued to work on stage and in films. Her performance in the 1969 film The Sterile Cuckoo earned her a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role. Liza's most famous movie role was Sally Bowles in the 1972 film version of the musical Cabaret, directed by dynamic dancer and choreographer Bob Fosse. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role, as well as the Golden Globe Award and the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, or BAFTA, Award. She made several appearances on TV shows and won an Emmy for her 1972 TV special, Liza with a Z, also directed by Bob Fosse. Following her divorce from Peter Allen, Liza married producer and director Jack Haley Jr. in 1974. His father, Jack Haley, played the Tin Woodsman opposite Judy Garland in the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Liza starred in another popular musical, New York, New York, with famous actor Robert De Niro in 1977. The title song became her most famous signature song. Her father-in-law, Jack Haley, made an uncredited appearance in the film as the Master of Ceremonies. Liza's marriage to Jack Haley Jr. lasted until April 1979. Liza's next 3 films were box office flops, and she made fewer film appearances. She starred with actor and comedian Dudley Moore in the 1981 film Arthur, which was a huge success. Liza married for the 3rd time in December 1979 when she wed sculptor Mark Jarrow. Liza finally went to rehab at the Betty Ford Clinic in 1984. She and Mark Jarrow divorced in January 1992. Liza won a Grammy Legend Award in 1990. With this award, she became one of only 16 performers to win an Emmy Award, Grammy Award, Tony Award, and Academy Award. In April 1992, Liza joined many other music superstars at London's Wembley Stadium to sing at the tribute concert for her late friend Freddie Mercury, the flamboyant lead singer for the British rock band Queen. Freddie Mercury was the first rock star to publicly announce an AIDS diagnosis and the first rock star to die of AIDS-related illness just a day after his announcement. Liza performed Queen's famous anthem, "We Are the Champions," with the surviving members of Queen. Liza returned to Broadway in 1997 to replace Julie Andrews in the lead role in Victor, Victoria. In 2000, after being diagnosed with a serious case of encephalitis, she was told she would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair and that she would lose her voice. She took daily voice and dance lessons and recovered. She married concert promoter David Jest in 2002. The best man was music superstar Michael Jackson, and the matron of honor was Liza's dear friend, actress Elizabeth Taylor. Their marriage was tumultuous. David claimed that Liza was physically abusive with him, especially when she drank. He sued her for $10 million for physical and emotional abuse, but the case was dismissed. They separated in 2003 and finally divorced in 2007. Liza has mostly retired, but she did appear as a recurring character on the Emmy Award-winning TV show Arrested Development from 2003 until 2005, and then again for the show's reboot in 2013. Liza has no children. Judy had and continues to have a strong following in the gay community. She is arguably the most famous gay icon in history. The gay publication The Advocate referred to her as, quote, the Elvis of homosexuals. She is admired for her abilities as a performer and the way her personal struggles mirrored the struggles of gay men during the height of her fame. Her performance in The Wizard of Oz also contributed to her status as a gay icon. In the 1950s, the term a friend of Dorothy was slang for gay, since her character Dorothy befriended a group of odd or queer friends. When asked how she felt about having a large gay following, Judy laughed and said, quote, I couldn't care less. I sing to people. Like her mother, Liza Minnelli is also a popular gay icon. Fans have embraced Liza for her vocals and vulnerability. Her performance in 1972's Cabaret solidified her status as one of Hollywood's gay idols for its depiction of bisexuality and gender fluidity. Liza has long been an advocate for AIDS charities, research, and education. She has dedicated most of her time and energies to AMFAR, Elizabeth Taylor's Foundation for AIDS Research. It was Liza who told her friend Elizabeth Taylor about the AIDS crisis and how it affected their mutual friend Rock Hudson, who was the first celebrity to publicly announce an AIDS diagnosis. The 2019 film Judy, starring Renee Zellweger, is based on the stage play End of the Rainbow. It begins with flashbacks to Judy's early career, but the film mostly concentrates on the last year of Judy's life. Renee Zellweger won the Academy Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role for her sensitive portrayal of Judy. To know more about Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli, go to our website, gwinnettepl.org, to check out the following suggested items. Deanna Durbin, Judy Garland, and the Golden Age of Hollywood by Melanie Gall. Fosse by Sam Wasson. Judy, A Legendary Film Career by John Fricka. Judy and I, My Life with Judy Garland by Sid Luft. Judy and Liza and Robert and Freddie and David and Sue and Me, A Memoir by Stevie Phillips. Judy Garland, The Other Side of the Rainbow by Michael Friedland. The Movie Musical by Janine Basinger. The Wizard of Oz. Also, visit our website's digital resources to discover Canopy, our streaming service. Currently, there are several offerings on Canopy that feature Judy Garland. The Academy Award-winning film Judy, starring Renee Zellweger, the documentary Discovering Judy Garland, and Till the Clouds Roll By, one of the musicals that Judy starred in. For Liza Minnelli, try Tell Me That You Love Me, Junie Moon, and try to remember the Fantastics. Thank you for watching.